My name is Erica Lorenz Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorenz Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorenz Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorenz Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorenz Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorenz Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorenz Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. This is documentation of the overweight African-American male wears the olive green hoodie and the gray bottoms, and he is reporting right to position and relevant position. This is a demon that is obnoxious, engaging in what is monitoring on a systematic basis. He's homeless. He is going to prison, and the entity that is monitoring with him is immediately stalking with flight right over the senior center, like you hear, while he is sitting on the bench, just like I documented yesterday morning and just like I documented when it is 5 in the morning, and this demon is in the dark walking over, gang stalking me with the military. These are the same demons, and this is the same one that is stalking me, and so are the demons at these fake churches. They're stalking while they're engaged in providing meals to the homeless, and like at Rock of Faith, engaging in what is harassing me and criminally defaming me while they're stalking with these demons. They're doing the exact same thing. They're in my presence, gang stalking, and the military stalking with planes and helicopters, exactly what he's doing now. And this is the entity that's maliciously engaging in that P.O.C. I'm documenting him because he is going to prison. He is engaging in that's a threat while the government is monitoring you, and people are just right in your face engaging in that sort of conduct. These are psychopaths, and they engage in this
while they are literally being prosecuted. It's not a mystery. I'm not sitting up petrified and intimidated. I'm putting it on the internet. Your identity is not like some sort of information that has to be figured out or something. They're doing it right in the face. I am literally the federal authority, and this is what they're doing. He's going to prison, and he's not the only one. This is what they're doing on a daily basis. They're driving on the roads and the highways, license plate full open, going right into the library with their kids and everything. And these are the things that you do not want the federal government to know that is going to prosecute you for this. And at the same time, they're delusional regarding that's evidence that they're not doing something wrong. Or they're telling themselves, lying to themselves that they're not doing anything wrong, but they know exactly what they're doing, and so do the feds. And regardless of what they want to call it, I'm not talking about this fatty over here. He knows that he's a stalker. I just mean the system in general. You have the society that's engaged in criminal monitoring, and regardless of whether they are in denial about the fact that it is known and that it is criminal, and you bringing your kids to the library and sitting around all day with a book is engaging in criminal activity, and that's not going to be based on whether you acknowledge that or not. These people are psychotic. They really are. But the entities engaging in that, and this is the exact same pattern of conduct when they're going into the library, and the military is gang stalking me. This demon is doing so as I wake up, walks right by me with his loudspeaker, sits right in front of me while the entity goes to town stalking in planes and helicopters, while the rest of the demons are pacing through the middle, engaging in as though they're getting their aerobics. They're walking their dog. They're pushing their stroller. They're carrying all their bags, walking around or sitting on the other benches. They're all gang stalking together. Okay, I just want to document that plane activity is relevant to the military, who has a partner, a systematic partner. This homeless demon who is not concerned about his well-being and why the fact of his being outside. He is focused on me and gang stalking me, which is also relevant to mental instability. Why a healthy person would be concerned about bettering their circumstances instead of gang stalking and monitoring with the government that's not putting them up in a mansion for it, and that you would harm anyone else for a figure amount is also disturbing as well. But he's not even doing that. He's outside for free, gang stalking me, and he's going to prison for it. It's P.O.C. It's currently 5:41 a.m. and this is relevant to the activity that this third party is engaged in. This is serial stalking conduct. Serial stalkers are going to prison. Serial stalkers are those that are gang stalking you at work. Your coworkers are going to prison when they're monitoring you and furtherance of murder. Serial stalkers are those that live in your neighborhood and they're keeping you under surveillance and furtherance of murdering you. Your gang stalking neighbors are going to federal prison. Serial stalkers are, for example, those, even if they're wearing a police uniform, they're going to prison anyway. But a serial stalker, for example, a police officer that goes to the same coffee shop as you every morning, and he is within eyeshot because he wants you to see him. He wants you to see his pistol. He wants you to see how he is superior to you, engaging in what is gang stalking you right in your face, doing so with regard to the pattern of conduct that you're not sure how it operates, but it is a threat to you subconsciously. It is something that is disconcerting to you while you're always looking at that helicopter activity, you're looking at that plane activity, you're looking at that fake sun that remains over you, and you're looking at all the ways in which the entity is harassing you, while this cop that you're looking at every morning that goes to the in relevant position to you, in other words, that is inside of that coffee shop, that's engaging in that pattern of conduct with everybody else inside of that coffee shop. That's called systematic stalking. And they don't have to have a conversation with you. This is a crime committed by an entity, and that entity is dissected even more so. And those that think that they're going to conspicuously engage in stalking somebody without any consequences, those are the ones that are going to prison, okay? Demons that are engaged in this pattern of conduct are those that are severely mentally unstable. And this is what the entity is doing with the people of the state. I want you to hear this plane activity. The African-American male that's on, as a matter of video, images at the Methodist Church on Thursday. He's sitting at the table right in front of me, gang stalking in operation of his device under the fake sun. And this is the criminal activity that he's engaging in at that fake church, gang stalking. And he is going to prison for it. And you can see that he's extraordinarily enthusiastic about it as well. When he's being documented gang stalking me, he's waving at the camera. He's stalking me on Holt Boulevard in the middle, in the dark, which is a threat. This is a stalker that's extraordinarily deranged in his behavior while he is stalking, and because you are waving at a camera and dancing, That's speaking to what is mental illness, not friendly conduct, not welcoming behavior, not rebutting the fact that you're gang stalking, doing so while the entity is stalking in a helicopter, doing so while an entity is stalking you in police vehicles, while you're smiling and dancing, is evidence that's going to be used against you regarding mental illness. And the entity that's doing so while you hear this plane activity, and it's as the entity behaving as though nothing is happening, that's going to be used regarding your mental illness. This is an entity that's engaged in criminal activity, and I've shown how a demon-possessed entity that is indeed mentally ill engages in all manner of deranged behaviors regarding what is factual, that it's criminal. And that's not going to change based on the demons behaving as though there's nothing wrong. They're psychotic. It's a psychotic entity. But nonetheless, the plane activity that you hear, this is how you're analyzing any crime scene. And that plane activity is going toward a threat that third party is going to prison for. That's exactly why he's seated, where he has no freedom to engage in being seated, to be subservient to the government's criminal activity. And you have the population that is relying on stalkers like this coming into your presence while they all share in psychotic pacing all around, and which is what they're doing on the roads and the highways. The entity that's engaging in, like I'm describing, a gang stalking police officer that's going to be in your face stalking on an ongoing basis, they're going to prison for that. These are the types of things that you are analyzing, and the federal government is investigating more than that, which I speak on. I document everything. I take pictures of crime scenes, and those crime scenes are analyzed. And the more your face is shown, the more intense your prosecution is going to be. So it's already intense to be prosecuted as a terrorist, because you're not getting a petty charge regarding harassment. If you think that that's nothing, because it's harassment by a government. And not only that, but it's beyond that. You're being prosecuted as a terrorist, and that's an extraordinarily violent sex offender, first of all. But you can go rapidly from that to what is federal prison. So this is terrorism. And the entities engaged in it, the more that you are documented, you are going to prison as a serial stalker. And this entity is engaged in what is stalking on behalf of the government that's conspiring your murder. And these people are, again, demons who are engaged in conduct with the government that cannot help them. The government only incriminates them. When you see the planes, when you hear the plane activity, you see it, you hear the helicopter activity, you are being prosecuted for it. You are a co-conspirator. You are gang stalking, and it's not based on your acknowledging, oh, I didn't see the helicopter, so it's not happening. You're delusional, because you're going to be in a cell. Okay? And the more you talk, the more you behave like that, it's called malice. All right, and nobody is convinced by it. So the entire jig is up, and the entities engaging in conduct that they are convinced is going to be analyzed in some manner in their favor, as though some judge is sitting around some foreign judge is sitting around ignorant about the ways in which an entity is seeking to manipulate circumstances and perception. And this is not going to be based on perception. Oh, well, they seem innocent. Look, they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're present, because they're sitting there so open, and they look directly at you. They didn't even try to cover up their face. They're not doing anything wrong, but that's not how facts are going to be analyzed, period. You're going to prison. You're gang stalking, and you continuously do so, you're going to prison, and that's literally what you are requesting of the federal government. And it's that simple. And this is an entity that is that delusional, and you have hundreds of people that are going to prison. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:47 a.m. The entity is gang stalking with a homeless third party, which is relevant to obsession. Okay? Having nowhere to live, nowhere to go and wash his behind, and he gets up and the first thing he's thinking about is me, and it's the same with the demon-possessed entity that are using planes, speaking to multi-million-dollar companies that are obsessed with me, providing what are planes and helicopters in order to do so, listening to what it is that I'm saying, sitting up and monitoring my heartbeat and my breathing patterns and what it is that I'm doing with my device. I am the obsession here, and that is a relevant part of evidence, and not something to sit on and brag about that's irrelevant. This is the entity that is threatening my life based on their obsession with me, and there is a means of prosecuting for it. Okay? This is the purpose of gang stalking, and those that are more concerned about their gang stalking me rather than minding their business to figure out where they're going to lay their head like a real man would, then you're going to be laying your head in a federal cell. That's where you'll wake up every day. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:48 a.m. 5:55 a.m. The entity that is mentally ill, gang stalking in the first place, is mentally ill. Apologies, this is my equipment that's I'm putting together right now. Is the entity that's mentally ill that is stalking in planes and helicopters. The fact that the entity is utilizing aerial surveillance in this manner for a criminal purpose in an obsessive, this is beyond stalking, so they're spending the hour as I wake up pursuant to my every move, which is detailed and demonic. Plane activity, another plane and another plane, you're talking about every 90 seconds, depending on how much I'm speaking. That's psychotic, okay? Those are the demons that are being dishonorably and disgracefully discharged and involuntarily committed. That mental illness is shared indiscriminately. It doesn't matter whether that demon is homeless and dancing on the camera. It doesn't matter if that demon works for the school district and tutors minor kids. And it doesn't matter if that demon is the director of the library. It doesn't matter if that demon works for the police department. They're all on the same level psychologically. They're engaging in a pattern of conduct. This is a mentally ill population that scatters itself with regard to different quote-unquote roles regarding the propriety, regarding an illusion, the propriety to be in my presence, the way in which they're in my presence. They're all serving to engage in what is stalking in a manner that appears on its surface to be something that's appropriate. Stalking that's appropriate in the library, stalking that's appropriate at the park, stalking that's appropriate in traffic, stalking that's appropriate in the grocery store, stalking that's appropriate when you're at school, stalking that's appropriate when you're in the bathroom, stalking that's appropriate when you're homeless, versus stalking that's appropriate when you are living in the suburbs. This is an entity that's delusional, and you're getting past all of those. Stalking that's appropriate when you're in the courtroom. And the way in which the entity would like your perception to be as well, okay? When the reality is you worship me and you want to be me and you know exactly who I am, and it is far from some homeless, meaningless person that's stating a bunch of gibberish that nobody understands, that has no meaning whatsoever and no significance. It's the exact opposite. And that's why the entity is spending millions of dollars stalking me in planes and in helicopters, utilizing fire departments, and we're finding out it's not even a fire department, they're just stalkers. Police departments, and newsflash, they're not a police department, they're not engaged in law enforcement, they're stalkers. The military is not engaged in protecting American citizens, okay? It is a major discovery with regard to this investigation. They're terrorists, they're stalkers. They're facilitating violence amongst the population. The government, the state, that is not engaged in protecting the rights from the federal government, they're facilitating the federal government's pattern of conduct. And the entity does that against those that are a threat, not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're doing something extraordinary. They are representing something that is and something that is unique regarding the conformity that demons are living by. And the entity is stalking plane after plane. This is 5:55, 5:53 a.m. earlier, and this is what the entity is doing, and the cowards just cover up the fake sun in doing so. You know why? Because they were embarrassed yet again regarding the kidnapping that they committed yesterday, which is not forgotten. Every day is not starting over with regard to the new case, and facts are thrown away, and everyone's just forgetting that you've been engaged in. No, and that's why I refer to a kidnapping on June 16, 2022. But that was already the case when they were stalking by helicopter, when they were kidnapping in February of 2026, when Tracy Banks engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025, when they are gang stalking with helicopter activity at Starbucks on June 10, 2025, when they're engaged in threatening and stalking by helicopter at the Upland Public Library under the fake sun, when they're engaged in overt, conspicuous surveillance in a manner that is not hidden whatsoever and not premised upon a police officer talking to you, but the pattern of conduct that is proven to be underway. When they're doing these things, then you're already cognizant of the kidnapping that they committed on June 16, 2022, which is coloring everything that they're still doing. Stalking, and stalking the entire time. While you have the nerve to be in any courtroom outside of my absence and knowledge and involvement, and you think that you have some sort of defense for these demons, you belong in prison as well. Listen very closely, because you don't have a case. While you uphold terrorism that cannot hold water, and you rely on my absence while you prey upon something, anything that I say that you can try to twist, and you cannot do that. The P.O.C. is impervious to demons, and demons are the only ones who are defending any aspect of this entity. Only demons. And I said exactly what I said. Demons that sat for the bar, demons that are practicing law, demons that are providing what is a constitutional right. You're nonetheless demons. That's a spirit. And this is not only evil, I'm prosecuting it because it's criminal. And there is no way to defend the government. There is no case. And there is no propriety. And what is the necessity at the same time that I have to be outside and prove this case while a bunch of cowards are maintaining what is that which is untenable, that anything that has been said and done against me is something that is defensible in a court, necessarily in my absence, while you rely on videos that I'm publishing. Every video that I publish is serving to put these demons in prison. There is nothing that's going to defend Tracy Banks and what she's done, what this entity has done with her, what they are still doing to date while you call yourself defending any aspect of this entity. They're all going to prison. And this is prosecuting the system as well while you do so. You are serving my purposes. Play that for the judge. This is P.O.C. The entity is doing so under a fake sun that is covered up at 6:01 a.m. And this is what an entity is based on evidence as I showed them under the fake sun gang stalking. I just want to be clear, there is no defense for this entity. And the entity that engages in that while I remained outside and you call yourself defending while in my absence, that's the entity that's been gang stalking the entire time. There is no defense for this. POC. That's 5:55 a.m. as I started this recording. It is 6:02 a.m. That's 7 minutes later. And there are no flights from the airport that would engage or entail not only in Upland, California, but also here in Ontario over the Ontario Civic Center. There are no scheduled flights from the terminals that include this public nuisance. And there is no information that you are gaining from my website, my social media, that is serving your purposes, which are corrupt. There are some cases, there are some things that you do not touch as a principled matter, but demons don't have any principles. And demons having any representation in the courtroom are demons that are losing as well. There is no defense for this. They're engaging in criminal activity at the outset. Everything on my social media is incriminating the entity that has lied under all circumstances about my character. My character, my reputation, which is rehabilitated by this very investigation. By virtue of your referring to my social media, you are contradicting everything that your demon-possessed clients have stated against me behind my back, which is all criminal activity that cannot be defended. This is POC. The entity is stalking, and they're doing so with a population that is indeed engaged in criminal activity that the world is aware of, criminal activity that's going to be recognized under federal law, criminal activity that is not going to be defended by any corrupt representation like whoever is representing this entity in any capacity, in any aspect of this entity. Tracy Banks, Jason Fields, the likes of those that sat and perjured themselves in a corrupt court hearing. There is absolutely nothing that you could say, especially while that pattern of conduct is underway as I'm documenting it, and this is what they were trying to rely on to defame someone's character. Yeah, there is no defense here. There is no possible defense. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and criminal activity will never help retroactively redeem anything that was stated. It remains criminal. Now you're gaining context regarding the depths of corruption that were underway and violation of policy and ethics that were underway while the entity was engaged in trying to steal from me. That is another plain psychopathic behavior at 6:04 a.m. while demons are stalking, not ignorantly acting with the U.S. military, but acting in concert with the military. POC. This is that public corruption. Alrighty? That's the entity that is engaging in that blatant act of corruption by a community that's subject to martial law. And there's also nothing that you can refer to in my social media or that you can say that is legally relevant in any court case where I am not absent. You know why I'm not absent? Because it's a criminal act that the entity sought to accomplish against me while I am being abused by the system, abused by those in position. So that's why I am outside prosecuting the case while you are in a courtroom referring to that which is not helping you, it's not helping your purposes, and it's not helping your client. Your client, that's the one that's gang stalking as an entity. Your client is the entity. You're relying on the entity successfully gang stalking an American citizen. You don't have a case to defend these demons. I hope you know that, whoever you are. Bringing shame to the practice of law, you are exactly who is being disbarred. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. It's 6:05 a.m. at the Ontario Civic Center, and the entity is covering up these cowards that are stalking in the sky space because I embarrassed them yesterday. I embarrassed them on a moment-by-moment basis. It's embarrassing that they're stalking in places like in bathrooms as well. They committed kidnapping under all circumstances. Under all circumstances. And an entity that commits kidnapping shall be subject to martial law. P.O.C. This is the entity that is stalking again another plane. This is psychopathic behavior. While the entity is crossing path, here you go. There is no such thing as working at the entity and that being an exception. This is literally where the entity is gang stalking. And that is Page 1 Cafe that has the fakes sent over it from morning until evening. While you hear the plane activity, that's the same concerted conduct. That's City of Ontario Convention Center. That's the City of Ontario. And that's Robert that's walking into the convention center while the entity is maintaining the amplified plane activity, and Robert, who is a psychopath, is just, hey, saying hi to somebody else in the background, the stalker that's sitting on the bench, while the entity is that's speaking to what is obsession. They are determined to continuously engage in the pattern of conduct and not addressing what is being addressed. And there's no way to address it. It's being called out, it's being documented in real time, so you continue. It's like putting your head down and just continuously engaging in that criminal conduct that you refuse to stop engaging in. And reporting to work is not a defense. They are reporting to work in order to engage in the pattern of conduct. And now that malicious system is being dissected and prosecuted, where it is not a defense, it's exposed as what is that means of engaging in that corrupt system that has been designed to conveniently permit everyone everywhere to engage in that criminal activity. And the malice behind that, the flip side of that is that you're being prosecuted under all circumstances. There's no exception, especially as you see the government is gang stalking as you report to work, and the fake sun's not dimming itself and disappearing while you're reporting to work, and you're not ceasing to engage in that pattern, and then also claiming that you're ignorantly engaging in a pattern. That is literally the exact opposite of what could possibly be the case. You don't have an ongoing accident occurring pursuant to a pattern over and over and over and over again. It's mutually exclusive. The fact that you are engaging in a pattern, a behavioral pattern, in a specific environment, in concert with the government that shares that behavioral pattern, which is supernatural, in addition to the environment being supernatural, there is no amount of legal defense that is, and any amount of legal defense is speaking to what is corruption. You're upholding what is corruption. But again, mafia bosses, pedophiles, all manner of criminals are entitled to their day in court. But this entity is already convicted. And the fact of the entity maintaining any sort of court hearings regarding that which is criminal, and obviously criminal at the outset, because I should have been a part of the very first court hearing. Tracy Banks is a thief. She is a serial killer. She is a sex offender. She is an undiagnosed psychopath with multiple personalities. She is a sex addict, which is also relevant to not just one that engages in what is addiction to physical sexual activity. This is a mentally ill person that expresses her mental illness in a sexually perverted manner, and she calls that having sex with other people. Other people that don't recognize that have sex with her. She is sharing in what is mentally ill behavior. That is relevant to her sex addiction. While she is a cult member partaking in this, living a reckless lifestyle, endangering other people, and also being a threat to society. And she engaged in what is plotting my murder and projecting all of that which she knows is sick about herself. She has lied about me. While she's been feigning, that is a psychopath, acting like she's a loving mother. That does not make me any of the things that she's stated, and facts already established that. To engage in under any circumstances seeking to defend what she has necessarily only been able to do through the corrupt, cooperative acts of this government that's gang stalking through this evidence of the P.O.C., is evidence that is prosecuting that government. There is no circumstance where I would not be a part of any court hearing. Kidnapping me, which is necessarily what it is. You have no evidence that will ever establish me as a criminal. All right? That is the only means whereby these demons can be in a courtroom and say, oh, I don't know where Erica Spencer is. You know, she's on drugs again, and she's missing. We're looking for her, Your Honor, but I'm taking care of her estate, and I am the one that is legally vested with that interest, and I am interested in remaining and maintaining that position while she is paying gang stalkers, while she's having sex with gang stalkers like Jason Fields, gang stalking organizers, while they're maintaining a paper trail of defamation. While who is doing that? The Ontario Police Department? The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department? The Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court? That is the corrupt government that's gang stalking me right now. that maintains a corrupt system where they target you, and they are necessarily targeting you with those that are in some sort of relationship to you to claim that they know you in order to then defame your character. Oh, I know her, and yes, she's mentally ill. Oh, yeah, she's a drug addict, and she's missing. Oh, no, it's not the fact that she's been being gang stalked by the police, who then kidnap her after putting her into an economic circumstance. Meaning you're gang stalking me at work that I cannot safely report to anymore, that is interfering with my liberty right to collect a paycheck, where I am more than qualified to, both as a licensed attorney and using my skill set in property management. There are many things that I can do to make money legally that Tracy Banks cannot. She makes money on flea-bitten mattresses, all right? And she does so with the entity that is also a bunch of envious psychopaths who stalk and steal and lie, and they abuse government positions in doing so. This is an entity, and I mean the demons that are sitting on the bench, the demons that are practicing law in the courtroom, the demons that are in law enforcement, the demons that are with the sheriff's department, the demons that are the people of the state, the entirety of that system in operation against me. And none of that is going to overwhelm what are facts. It's not going to be based on your facial expression. It's not going to be based on your willingness to defend in a courtroom where, in my absence. The fact that I'm absent, you need to understand that that means that you're guilty, because I should have already been there. You're trying to do that retroactively, which you cannot do. You cannot redeem and make legitimate everything that was said and done against me. And I am proving that while I am documenting, while I'm sleeping outside. The absence of resources is not going to stop the facts being heard and seen very clearly, vividly. And I'm speaking to the cowards that would even stand behind what is an entity that would engage in this against anyone, let alone myself, where you don't have a case. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's gang stalking 6:12 a.m. under the fake sun, that's here 12 hours later, and where there's no plane activity coming from the airport. That's Delta Airlines, hovering over the Ontario Senior Center at the Ontario City Hall. And that's the entity that is obsessively stalking me, that has no defense in court. And every day, I just want to be clear, every day that I spend outside, while the entity calls itself maintaining an investigation and court procedures, where you're dissecting my social media, and I have to remain under this circumstance while you conduct court hearings that never should be underway in the first place. This is all damages. I hope you understand that. It's not removing the fact that I am entitled to recovery, and these demons are going to prison for it because there were court hearings that prolonged what I was entitled to at the outside. I hope you understand that. While you're holding on to what is an empty case that is not successful for you or for them, these are damages for me. I hope you understand that. It's not an exception because, well, during this time, she was outside and we had to conduct these court hearings. We had to make sure that we had this understanding. We had to accomplish this legally no, that's called damages. The government remains the wrongdoer, and everything that I'm subject to, regardless of what you call yourself doing, which was wrong at the outset, this is speaking to the ongoing course of conduct. And I will be recovering for this, including while you engage in that which is, as a matter of principle, it is unethical. As an officer of the court, while you are defending that which is indefensible, you are aiding in the pattern of conduct because the government is the criminal. So now the government gets a day in court while the targeted individual remains subject to it. And how are you, you're literally speaking out of both sides of your mouth while you're trying to defend, and the entity that you're defending is still outside gang stalking me at the same time. It's an entity. They don't have a defense. And this is speaking to damages. You will compensate. You will compensate me for this. Every single hour that I'm outside. Every single last hour. Not only that, they are going to pay the consequence. They're going to prison for longer. That will be literally a part of what is sentencing. The fact that you had to go through your process while I am outside proving a case that an American citizen should never have to do. But for my ability. But for Christ Jesus, in other words. The ability for the U.S. military to try to defame my character and get away with plotting my murder. Okay? They're going to prison for that. They're going to be committed for that. Meaning you're not just going away for what is an original sentence. It is going to be a part of what is making sure it is communicated very clearly. Because of the damages suffered by the government, they are getting more time for that. And that's what's behind your referring to my social media regarding that, which is nothing other than harming your non-case. You don't have a case against the government that's engaged in this conduct. This is a POC. This is the entity stalking again. That was Delta Airlines. This is 6:15 a.m. This is psychopathic pacing with the people of the state. Holding onto a prop, that's the dog with the communication device in hand under the fake sun they're monitoring. And that is Alaska Airlines that was stalking all the way over at Euclid Avenue and I Street, where there are also no flights from Alaska Airlines from the airport. Okay? Remember, the entity is engaged in this, and this is what you are in court defending. There is no defense for it. There is no defense for it. And you're not separating, by the way. You are not. There is no separation, and you are not creating any superficial means of separation because you call yourself legal counsel for a corrupt entity. Something that the targeted individual has said while you are looking at the bare bones evidence of targeting by the government, period, where the entity is maintaining plain activity that's relevant to the entity that is stalking in the absurd manners that I have already outlined and have proven with tangible evidence existing for years. The entity is targeting me with planes and targeting me with helicopters, and they are psychopaths seeking to defame the targeted individual, projecting their own mental instability onto the one that they are obsessed with, who they also sought to steal from. And they were only able to get away with that through their corrupt system, which looks like the entity engineering what is a criminal record, creating and engineering mental illness on paper to get away with abusing the system, where they are strategically placed in order to be in operation of that system. They are the gang stalking judge, the gang stalking attorneys, the gang stalking behavioral health department, the gang stalking officers, the gang stalking people of the state. Every level of that system, they're engaging in that with regard to what is committing that theft via defamation. They cannot do it to somebody that is upstanding, to somebody that they're not stalking, to somebody that they can't depict as being one that's incapable of handling their own life. This is how they rob you. Not at gunpoint immediately. They rob you through the calculated, systematic means of federal group stalking and monitoring, and there is no defense of that system at all. You are serving my purposes through the prosecution of this corrupt system, including as I remain subject to it, and I'm documenting companies like Alaska Airlines. This is P.O.C. So I want you to be mindful of that. Right? And any competent judge that's listening to it, that's maintaining it in my absence, you're understanding that these are damages that I continuously suffer. All right? The ongoing pacing together, the demons that are crossing paths, and the demons that are in the sky space crossing paths together as one entity. All right? This is the entity that committed kidnapping, and they're subject to martial law as well. That is Frontier. All right, this is the entity that, these are a bunch of stalkers, and these are the ones that engaged in failing at defaming my character. This is the entity that is indefensible in court. This is the entity that is clearly engaged in criminal activity and is severely mentally ill. They do so under a fake sun, and none of them are ignorant about it. They're not ignorantly acting in sync with the demons that are stalking in the planes. They are crossing paths in their aerobics. At the time that they're walking by, so is the plane flying over. At the time that they're walking their dog, so is that plane flying over. At the time that they are acting like they forgot their keys and they're going back, walking by me and getting them and going back in the other way, pacing under that fake sun that is rising and still here setting while the plane is flying over, they are stalking together. They're psychotic while they engage in what is a failed act. And it is indefensible in court. Even while I'm outside, I have proven that. In fact, the fact that I am proving it while you are merely referring to my social media regarding points that you do not have, that do not help your case, you don't have a case. The case is you're guilty and your client is guilty. And you are always relying on something, some sort of irrelevant piece of information. Your point is to try to defame. That's the only way that you are trying to achieve success. And that in and of itself shows you that you're in the wrong. You are relying on something to try to denigrate my character or denigrate something that I'm speaking of, and you cannot do that. It is impervious to that. The P.O.C. is impervious to it, and their pattern of conduct directly rebuts what would be even relevant, the character of the one that is documenting the government. You cannot denigrate the character of the one that is literally maintaining the investigation, because the government is not going to do that. And you are literally relying upon that. Okay? This demon is over here still sitting on the side, gang stalking, with the demons that are pacing, all right? Stalking as a society is a society that is subject to martial law, okay? This is the entity that is doing so. Well, the fake sun is present at 6:19 in the morning, and you already know the fake sun is still present at the Ovid Family Community Library, which is no information that any legal counsel of this entity can refer to in order to denigrate the character of the targeted individual that's maintaining a body of evidence speaking to corruption, malice, and mental illness of an entity that does things such as stalk you in a passive, microaggressive manner in ways in which they think outside of only evidence is the only way that that would be successful. You don't have evidence. And so the entity is then able to defame your character. And then you have what are those that are upholding that which is unethical and corrupt, defending them in court, where the target individual doesn't have the P.O.C., but the P.O.C. shows that 12 hours from now at 6:45 p.m. the fake sun is at the same address, where Alaska Airlines and Frontier Airlines and Delta Airlines are gang stalking by definition. P.O.C. That is, again, another plane. That's United Airlines at 6:20 a.m. These commercial airline companies are being federally prosecuted for domestic terrorism, as they share in that P.O.C., hovering over a senior citizen complex as well, doing so where the fake sun is rising and setting. And that is, again, 12 hours later. And don't forget, while I go to the city of Upland, that fake sun is remaining over me. And then it's setting at the Ovid Family Community Library at 6:45 p.m. That's an entity that is clearly targeting, and it's not a matter of whether you like the evidence. It's a matter of what is evidence, period, which you do not control that case. And it is inconvenient because it is absolutely nothing that is reflecting poorly on the targeted individual. This is the entity that's engaging what is relying upon what is nothing other than abilities to speak, or not speak, because you could just claim being legal counsel for the entity you are under all circumstances always relying upon, in need of seeking out what are information that reflect poorly on the targeted individual. That is literally the entire impetus of the case of an entity. You have to make the one that you seek to stalk and steal from, the one that you are abusing, you have to make that person, you have to silence them by stating, oh, they're crazy. And that is not a defense, by the way. That's not the practice of law, in my opinion. One that is using my skill set in the same manner, in an ethical manner, in a manner that is designed to actually do justice. And to use your legal skill set and focus it on how can you attack another person with regard to what remains criminal and corrupt and unethical, like what Alaska Airlines, what Delta Airlines, what Frontier Airlines are engaging in, which is, again, not a matter of what is some sort of mystery. It is a matter of judicial notice that they are not taking off from the airport right here. And there is a pattern of conduct of the entity targeting, therefore, and they are also doing it as a matter of scientific evidence, which you are also not going to overlook, while I am showing a greater pattern of conduct shared by larger police departments like the LAPD in Los Angeles, where they are stalking in helicopters even over my apartment for the duration of the day, where an enduring light source that could not possibly be the sun is rising and setting over my apartment. I'm capturing it out my living room window, and I'm capturing it out my bedroom window, where I don't have multiple apartments in the city of LA, where the sun is also not going to rise and set in one city, let alone over one person's apartment in one city. It's the same apartment in the morning and the same apartment in the evening, where the entity kept in a universe is what that's representative of, rising and setting a sun over me, where I'm being harassed by planes and helicopters. This is the hallmark of that system. And you are relying upon information that you are not going to get from the POC. The POC is showing how the mentally ill are engaging in targeting as a population. Stalking. And they think stalking looks more normal when they have on fitness uniforms, when they are old Asians that don't speak English, when they are doing so with a bunch of children around them, when they are working for the city hall, when they look to the left and right and smile and say hi to somebody else while they're on their cell phone. They think stalking looks normalized then. And those are the ones that are being committed. This is the POC. This is the entity that is stalking again. This is a matter of what is judicial notice. This is Southwest Airlines at what is 6:24 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct under the fake sun, and that fake sun that is here as a matter of evidence at 6:45 a.m. Alrighty, I am capturing images right now, and this is the entity that is gang stalking. The overweight African-American male, he is going to federal prison. He is engaging in, the way that the entity does this regarding vehicles, for example, stalking with light, this fat male represents what is the vehicle that is parked conspicuously. That's a threat, while the entity is conspicuously engaging in anything. And understand that that's everyone. So as you are sitting outside of your home at 215 C Street, not 215 East C Street, the Ovid Family Community Library, excuse me, it's 218 C Street, while you are sitting outside of your home, which is a facilitating venue, and you have your headlights on or have your headlights off, or even say you want to exercise your quote-unquote freedom, get inside of your vehicle at your home at 218 C Street and turn your hazard lights on while you're sitting in front of your home, and as though you're free to do that. And this is not a matter of freedom. This is a specific environment, and under that fake sun, your home is a facilitating venue, that is where the feds know exactly where you reside, where you are engaging in the criminal facilitation of what is a conspiracy to murder, i.e. creating light activity criminally, including where you live, where you're engaging in monitoring with the government in the shoes of that state as the entity, not as a private party, not on private property, and you're doing so while you are also seeking to psychologically torture and harass the target individual who you are monitoring on their device, meaning you do so while you are using what is nothing other than a means to identify and document you very easily, not any sort of protection at some individual that's speaking, oh, I can rob you because I'm a private citizen and I'm conducting the robbery at my house. I'm not conducting the robbery at the bank where I don't pay the rent. I'm conducting the robbery where I live, and so that's not a crime. That's the type of logic that they have. It's monitoring, and the entity is monitoring through the people of the state. And at 218 C Street, you are engaging in that pattern of conduct where you're creating light activity. And so this fat male is engaging in that, which is analogous to what they do utilizing what are vehicles, for example, stalking conspicuously in the path, doing so while the rest of the demons are pacing one after another after another. It's psychopathic pacing altogether. The entity is doing so in the sky space using Frontier, United, Alaska Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and doing so while they are under that fake sun. They are creating light activity as they do so, and this fat male sitting on the bench is also a means of light activity. Whether or not he's flashing with light or whether or not he's sitting there stationary, this is what the entity does with regard to tag team-like conduct. One that is remaining, and it's not, one is symbolic because it's group conduct. And like I documented last night, you have in the parking lot at the Arco, you have the demons that were surrounding at E Street and Euclid at the Starbucks side, a demon with their headlights on, stalking in the path. In the Arco vacant parking lot, that demon was engaged in psychopathic pacing, driving around in a circle in that parking lot. And at the Lemon Avenue and E Street intersection, the demons were parked at the opposite end. They were surrounding around the perimeter with vehicles with their headlights on. And they're doing so, and I'm documenting while the entity is stalking as I am traveling through, and this is at nightfall. And so that stalking with light conduct is highlighted because their headlights stand out. And remember, it's not even normal headlights. It's in the environment where multiple shadows are on the ground, so they are stalking with light. It's a criminal act. It's speaking to public corruption. Where public corruption is underway, you are not engaging in anything that is free. So what you're doing at your home is a facilitating venue, and you're engaged in criminal activity. And the fact that you acknowledge that or not is not going to change that. And the entity being what is in denial or defiant to that is also not going to change that. The entity literally already committed the criminal acts. You defamed my character, you stole from me, you kidnapped me, you abused the criminal justice system in doing so. It's a matter of public corruption, and you're being prosecuted for it, and it is indefensible. This entity is engaging in that. The demons walk by right now, 6:28 a.m. It's the same demons that are engaging in the psychopathic pacing. Alrighty, so the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct while they are seated on the bench. So the fat male is one that is representing the demons that sit stationary, and the demons that are engaging in. It's as though one sits, to me, it reminds me of a picture, a demon that is timing you. You're on the track, and you're running around on the track. They're engaged in psychopathic pacing, and there's one that sits there and times you, okay? Just giving you a picture of one that it's their job to sit there stationary, and the other, they're going around and around and around and around and around and around and around. That's what these demons do with regard to the pattern of conduct, how they engage in that. This is the entity using their bodies in the engineer light, while the entity is engaging in what is pacing over the Ontario Civic Center. And the entity is engaging in this while they are monitoring together. And this is, again, this is a home, in the physical, these are demons that are all monitoring together. In the physical, this is a homeless African-American male over here with these demons that live in this neighborhood who are not having a conversation together, and they're all targeting me together, okay? This is the entity that are demon-possessed, and they are not physically associated with each other, although they are physically associated with each other because they're in this environment around, but they are maintaining an illusion that they are not cooperatively targeting me together, and that is relying on illusion. They're not talking to each other, they don't know each other, they haven't, as far as I've seen, they're not having a meeting with each other. They're not doing any of that. These are demons that are all monitoring together, though, and they are all third parties to the government that are using these commercial planes that have no passengers on them, that are hovering over this ecological location right here where the fake sun is rising and setting. And that is a clear-cut means of evidence, by the way, that is also indefensible. You don't have a defense for this entity that is monitoring. And I want to be clear, that is the case. The entity and anybody referring to my social media trying to defend this, which is indefensible, you are always distracting away from the case. This is the case. The entity is, the government is a stalker, and you are trying to defend that which you cannot defend, which is stalking by the government. This is the case. And the way in which the entity is stalking is even relevant to their mental illness. This is the case, not a distraction, a red hair regarding trying to critique that which is legally irrelevant, the character of the one that is being stalked by the government. This is the case here. And everything else that you have sought to point your finger at is a distraction. And because you're dealing with those that are being taught, I am educating the federal court about what the point is, what the focus is, where the corruption lies, what the tactics are. That doesn't mean that you actually have a case. And this is, again, subject to what is actionable regarding the entity abusing this system. This is the entity that is stalking, 6:31 a.m., doing literally a cartwheel in the sky space, just like I captured UPS doing yesterday. This is the entity that's doing so at 6:31 a.m. You can hear it. So this is the entity that's seeking to avoid being captured. That's delusional when you just flew like 13 planes right now. But nonetheless, it's a matter of judicial notice, and this is the case that the entity is stalking, and there's no distracting away from that, and neither is that ever the case. That's like stating, well, I murdered the victim, but the victim was an evil person. They were really annoying. They were always coming to my house and getting on my nerves. They would always leave a mess every time I cooked dinner for them, and I had to wash the dishes, and they never wanted to help me wash the dishes, and they're always talking about stuff that I don't understand. They get on everyone's nerves. Nobody likes them, okay? Everyone thinks that they're crazy, and everyone says the same thing about them all the time, and that's why they are a murder victim? Yeah, that's not a defense either, and it's a distraction, and in court, that's legally irrelevant. That is treated as an admission. Okay, so what we're extracting from that is that you murdered the victim, okay? None of that is a legally relevant defense. There is no case other than that which the P.O.C. is proving. And the entity that is targeting American citizens is relying upon what are irrelevant aspects as they seek to critique. This is exacerbating the harms inflicted by that entity. This is the case, proving that the government's engaged in targeting. This is domestic terrorism. Stalking as an entity, as a population, and they're psychotic. They do so under a whole environment. This is the case. And it's scientific evidence that's put up or regarding what is yours that is insufficient. It does not rise to the level while you seek to merely criticize. That is to pick apart that which is legally irrelevant, and it doesn't matter whether the entity is referring to what is the character of the targeted individual, because the government remains the stalker. That remains the criminal. And that is literally the underlying tactics of anything and anyone that is seeking to and failing at, because it's evidence that you cannot stand up to. All right, it's legally irrelevant while the entity is stalking. And that's literally what you're listening to now, while the entity has been engaged in what is in exposing me to ongoing damages, while you are seeking to defend that which you cannot defend. And I'm going to recover for this as well. I'm going to recover for this as well. And those that are engaging in that conduct, this is relevant to the entity that engaged in this in the first place for this very purpose, because while I remain dispossessed of my property, this is something that is serving Tracy Banks' purposes. This is something that is serving what is this entity's purposes. And they are engaging in that which, remember, I represent the ordinary target individual who would be dead by now, who would be suffering physical harm in some way or another while you call yourself holding court hearings in their absence, waiting for them to drop dead so that you don't have to compensate them, so that you don't have to do time in prison. It's not going to be less justice because I am going to be present and I will be speaking personally and prosecuting those, even those that think that they can contend with an American citizen outside of their presence in order to defend this criminal activity. There are some cases that you don't take. Period. All right, this is indefensible. It's un-American. The government does not deserve a defense. This is un-American. It's terrorism. And that's not just my opinion. So this is corruption that is being defended. This is terrorism that's being defended. And how are you defending it? Because you're not defending it. You're not defending it. You are attacking the target individual, and you're attacking unsuccessfully. There is nothing that you could say when the target individual is also the investigator. She's also the one that's collecting the evidence. She's also the one that is engaging in that up close and personal maintenance of fact-based, dispassionate, lack of emotion. I'm just getting the information and the what are facts regarding even the information that is unpalatable, and making it palatable, that is digestible, that is understandable, that is plain for everyone to understand. And that includes that which is as unhelpful as it is to you, that they're psychotic. Your client is psychotic. They're mentally ill. They're stalking in planes and helicopters. Oh, you're desperate to try to find something wrong with the one that's being stalked, but under the law, that's legally irrelevant. The targeted individual's character is irrelevant while the government is stalking them. Unless you did not recognize that, that's the case, and that remains the case. This is a P.O.C., and any sort of judge that is entertaining that nonsense is adding to the harms, and under all circumstances, I'm going to be compensated for the damages that I continuously suffer, including while I document this, and I want to make sure that this is understood by those who are listening to this podcast, while you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to evidence against you. I am prosecuting you who call yourself sitting in a court hearing in my absence. The reason why it's in my absence is because your client is guilty. But for this criminal conduct, I would be there. Matter of fact, there wouldn't even be a point of it because I should have had my money years ago. And you are serving the criminal's purposes. A lying Jezebel that cooperated with your client, who is necessarily and failing at, and it will never be the case, that you will try to denigrate the character of the one who was subject to the criminal and corrupt and unethical practices of an entity, of a government body. That will never be a means of prosecuting a case or a defense. It is legally irrelevant. In other words, that will be an automatic loss. You don't have any evidence to defend it. And abusing and attacking the character of another person, the one that is subject to, the one that is raising allegations of the pattern of conduct, that is not a defense. That's not a defense. That's not a rebuttal. That's not a response to the case. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:37 a.m. This is the entity that is obsessed with me, and they are stalking, and I want to be clear, Frontier Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, UPS. These are the planes, and as I am going through and pointing out that which any competent officer of the court would understand and accept, you are listening to the evidence against the entity, your very client that's outside still engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, while you lack any sort of defense in a court hearings regarding my money and property, regarding the criminal conduct that I've been subject to, regarding the defamation that my name has suffered, my reputation has suffered, while they're engaging in the criminal activity at the same time. The fact that you call yourself conducting any court hearing that is defending this entity while they are outside gang stalking me speaks to your delusion. They are it's not as though you're calling yourself defending something that I'm no longer subject to. They are literally engaging in the criminal conduct, and you call yourself defending something? You're in denial. And I want to be clear, everyone, this is not a threat. This is the truth. This is the problem with this system here. Do not be surprised when you are not capable of practicing law anymore, because there are damages for this. American citizens have a right to not be subject to it, and this is exactly why they are still stalking me right now while you call yourself conducting some sort of hearing. Be prepared, because you will very likely not be practicing law anymore. This is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. It's 6:38 a.m. on June 17, 2026. Stalking by the people in sync with the entity by planes. That's the military. And this is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. They committed kidnapping while they've been stalking me for years, and they shall be subject to martial law. And the entity that is not conducting any sort of actual defense, this is the ongoing facilitation of ongoing targeting by this entity that really just is so psychotic. It's as though they believe they're doing this and that they're going to, in front of everybody, including the entity that's maintaining some farcical iteration of some court hearings pertaining to ongoing gang stalking, as though they're going to conduct a sacrifice in front of everybody and no one's going to know what's happening, no one's going to ask any questions, and everything's just going to go on. None of that's going to happen. This entity is going to be subject to martial law, however. This is the P.O.C. They're pacing by with their dogs, with their water bottles in tow, and the entity is stalking by commercial planes, and this is a matter of judicial notice regarding the environment and regarding the stalking, the hallmark, and commercial planes that have no passengers, moreover, and the entity is acting in sync with one another. This is the ongoing implied existence of a conspiracy to target together. P.O.C. at 6:42 a.m. This is another plane where they are targeting at the Ontario Civic Center. P.O.C. Psychopathic pacing. And this is martial law. This is going to be martial law after defaming the character of the target individual that you kidnapped. This is martial law after stalking obsessively the target individual that you stole from. This is martial law after engaging in what is an ongoing campaign of violence pursuant to failed psychological torture tactics. This is going to be martial law regarding the lawlessness of this entity that's engaging in what is delusional conduct even in front of the world. This is a threat to the public, and this is a threat to national security while you have a city, which is a state, engaging in this criminal conduct and doing so with this level of impunity. This is the necessity of martial law. And there is no relevant case held up in court that's going to derail that. This is establishing that. They will be subject to martial law, and they are also going to be subject to martial law with regard to the inability to be in the sky space and also to be on the roads and the highways. This is P.O.C. at 6:43 a.m. That's Securitas, that's gang stalking. Securitas is also being federally prosecuted. There is no amount of what is any sort of defense, which doesn't exist. Where I am right now at the Ontario Civic Center, you look at a Google Maps as I travel west in any direction, and as I go to Upland traveling northwest, the entity is maintained, it's chiefly north, I'm mostly just traveling north. The entity is still stalking with this plane activity. All right, so this is the entity that's engaging in what is stalking, and no one is mistaken about that. This is literally a matter of judicial notice. And where you are speaking at the character of the targeted individual, so we're not lying about the fact that she's mentally ill, because see, she was at the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, and this medical professional said this, and this is on paper, and that was pursuant to the kidnapping that they conducted when they were engaging in what is harassing me for documenting them stalking, just like right now. Don't forget that. It's always pursuant to the criminal conduct of the entity, and it will never address the criminal activity of the entity, and they will be subject to martial law for it. All right, and the loud plane activity is an admission to stalking, and this is the same volume level where you have not conducted a takeoff at Stater Brothers. That's Southwest Airlines at 6:45 a.m. Okay, Southwest Airlines has not conducted any sort of takeoff from Terminal 4 at 2500 Airport Drive to be over what is the 280 North Lemon Apartments at 6:45 a.m. at that volume level, at the elevation where I can see that it is southwest, and they are also legally relevant. It's in the environment where the sun rises and sets. 12 hours later, it's still here. All of that is a matter of judicial notice to prosecute. And what is irrelevant? Your opinions about, and also any machinations that you've come up with regarding what is caused by the character flaws, the so-called mental illness of the targeted individual. That's all legally irrelevant. Do you understand that? I don't think that you do. Even those that call themselves attorneys, I don't know if you understand that that is legally irrelevant. Prejudicial, irrelevant, that is overtly unfair and inequitable. It is literally irrelevant. It is literally not addressing the criminal allegations. Why is Southwest Airlines hovering in 14 different planes, and they're in this environment which has been brought to the attention of the court, and it's not going to be disregarded, and it is occurring pursuant to a pattern of conduct where it is improper. It is a matter of judicial notice. There are no takeoffs. What's the airport doing maintaining plane activity over here? What is the entity doing while the target individual has a body of evidence of being followed around and pursued, flying over her, flying over the area where she is frequenting by helicopters, doing so while she's in operation of her device, including trying to upload this evidence onto the internet. None of this is being overlooked, and these are not anomalies. It is literally a pattern of conduct. And you want to inject something, okay, let's not talk about the stalking, let's talk about how about she's crazy. Literally the combination of this evidence regarding a pattern of conduct is directly contending with your assertions that fall short of literally addressing the allegations of stalking by a government regarding and speaking to what is a distraction. But these are the tactics of a corrupt government, and I'm going to prosecute you for it. And because it's speaking to what is damages, and the only way you're engaging that is because it is the government that's doing it. Because any other defendant that is claiming, well, I'm stalking her because she's crazy, that would immediately be handled by the Superior Court judge. They don't have the power and the influence and the ability to hold up the operation of a system as the government itself, the government that's engaging in that which is unprecedented. And because of the identity of the stalker and because of the damages that are going to necessarily coexist with regard to that corrupt and equally legally irrelevant assertion regarding that which does not apply. Claiming anything about the character of the target individual. Oh, so they're crazy? Is that why you're stalking them? Because they're crazy? Because that's literally the next question. Oh, so they're mentally ill. So is that why you're stalking? Because you're not addressing the allegations. Okay? This is an entity that's engaged in that, and because of the identity of the stalker, oh, you think that you're and actually you're not. This is actionable, and this is ongoing damages that are exacerbated because the government, that is the stalker, engages in these malicious tactics. And the entity is typically successful. That doesn't work here. It doesn't work when you have evidence. It doesn't work when you know what to do with that evidence. It doesn't work when you can advocate, when you can prosecute, including the one that calls themselves prosecuting your character. I will prosecute you. I'll prosecute you on social media. I'll prosecute you, and I will dissect and break apart and literally incinerate that which you are necessarily speaking of, which is legally irrelevant in a courtroom. And the fact that you're doing it in my absence, it's speaking to the absence of any case that you have to defend this right here, which is criminal. The entity is literally doing it by virtue of the identity of the actor, the government that is corrupt. All right, and the government is using Southwest Airlines planes, and it is a matter of judicial notice. The Southwest Airlines has no business hovering over this area, this sky space, including a senior citizen apartment complex, which Southwest Airlines is doing at all times, at 12 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like I'm documenting at 6:44 in the morning, doing so while they are flying miles away from the airport, and they're doing the same thing when I'm in Montclair, California, flying over the top of my head. That's much more west, even farther away from the Ontario International Airport, where you are certainly not taking off, and you have yet to take off when you're hovering over my head in Montclair, California, when I'm on the sidewalk. All right, Southwest Airlines, that's the government. That's the government that is also equally unintelligent, thinking that they're hiding their identity. And why would you want to hide your identity? Because the U.S. military is engaged in terrorism. Terrorism that cannot be defended in any court hearing outside of the absence of the one that they are terrorizing. And you think that defending that terrorism is accomplished by defaming the character, denigrating the character, speaking to the personality or anything that no American citizen is engaging in. You are not engaging in anything that will make the government stalking you legal. Ever. Even if I did have some sort of flaw that is relevant, which I don't. That's why they're stalking me, by the way. But the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so, this is what they do to the ordinary target individual. Okay? This is why you have people that are out here homeless, okay, smelling like used up toilet paper, stalking me, which is particularly disgusting. All right? And I'm going to prosecute you for that. For being psychotic and stalking me. For smelling foul and stalking me. Okay, for being aesthetically disgusting and stalking me. For being particularly annoying and stalking me. For having the audacity to think that you could speak one persuasive adjective regarding anything about me when you're stalking me. Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Literally, animals flee from you because you stink. Your soul stinks, and you're stalking me. Don't ever forget that. The entity is the one that's spending millions of dollars stalking me. You have the environment that is proof that you're stalking me. This is an entity that's delusional, and they will be subject to martial law. There is no such thing as engaging in criminal activity and then blaming that person against whom you are engaging in a criminal act. That's what the government's tactic is, and there is no defense for it. And while you've been engaging in that, and you've been doing it in my absence while I remain subject to the system, I want you to listen clear. Let the judge hear this part. Because any judge that's entertaining it, they're liable as well. These are damages that are being accumulated. And the court system has a purpose, and you are not serving it. And claiming that you're learning, and you need to understand that is insufficient. As much as I am exposing, this entity is not ignorant about what they're engaging in, about what they're doing, and what they intended to do. The target individual ordinarily is not teaching anybody. The target individual winds up dead in an alley somewhere, and then you, judge, gets to hear about how they killed themselves and how Tracy Banks is entitled to their estates, their wealth, because they were mentally ill the whole time. That's typically what you're entertaining. When they were stealing the entire time, they were being gang stalked the entire time, and nobody's asking any pressing questions. Nobody's getting beneath the surface and getting to the actual substance of what is dubious at the outset. Nobody's asking those questions because nobody cares. Everybody wants a piece of that money, all that wealth and those assets that are not up for grabs. It's all my money. Every business that was created off of stealing from me, guess what? It's mine. All of the income and interest accumulated from money that you stole from me, businesses created, and corporations formed, it's all mine. I just want to be clear, you provided a service while you were targeting me, and it was never going to be successful. To all the demons that are listening to this podcast and all of the investments that you made for my behalf, wealth is stolen by the wicked, and it's merely stored up. Okay, you've literally been holding it, and you're going to hand it right back over to me, and then you're going to prison as well on top of that. So I just want you to be clear on that. You're going to run me all of my money, and then you're going to be ran into a federal cell. You're going to prison. Because I'm not going anywhere, and this is not a federal case, and what you've done is indefensible, regardless of the ability to pay for somebody that cannot defend you. And I will contend with anybody that thinks that they will necessarily attack the character of the victim and think that that's going to defend what the government is doing. It will not. You will never be addressing what Southwest Airlines is doing over a senior citizen complex at 6 o'clock in the morning when you are miles away from the airport, and a pattern of conduct showing the same throughout the city, throughout the counties. All right, far from Ontario, California, where the pattern of conduct is shared by multiple airports and the cities where the entities maintaining this environment, and you are engaging in the P.O.C. You are not addressing the allegations when you are attacking, and the reason why you're attacking is because you don't have a defense, and that's because the government thinks that they can get away with it because of who it is, and because the government says so, that's what it is. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that at all. The government's going to pay the penalty. The government's going to pay me, and then the government's going to be doing time. Because the government is made up of people, and these people are going to prison for what they've done and for what they facilitated, literally by people who are holding up, stalling, delaying justice by virtue of defending it and prolonging that which you cannot defend. And there's nothing, you're not getting away with any of that. You're going to pay me for this, and you will be subject to criminal charges. This is criminal activity. This is facilitating this criminal. The reason why they're still gang stalking in planes and helicopters is because they are holding court cases and falsely depicting the nature of what they are actually engaging in and facilitating and what they're hoping for. They're hoping that the target individual just drops dead or somehow makes herself look crazy because we can't seem to accomplish that. And there's nothing that I can say in this court hearing that's going to speak louder or supersede what is the body of evidence that is the P.O.C. And because that is the case, we're just going to request another continuance. We're going to go on and speak on to the fact that we need more evidence and we need more time. And this is the entity that's gang stalking the entire time. That's relevant to what is criminal activity. I hope you don't think that I can't reach you through this, literally while you're listening to this podcast, that I cannot reach you and prosecute you. Because it is. It's a system that's being prosecuted, and everything and everyone that thinks you're going to interfere with it or stop it or that you're some invisible force that nobody sees, you will be prosecuted. That is not a threat. This is over. It's a criminal act. That's why they are so boldly still stalking, because what you're doing. And the nexus is not invisible. It's not invisible. And you're also going to compensate me for it. And you're putting your bar license on the line. To be clear, this is the P.O.C. It's 6:56 a.m. These idiots west of this location are engaged in the same exact conduct. And that's because they're unintelligent and they've yet to ever have their criminal activity scrutinized. All right? And I'm not even really getting into deep, intricate details. I save that for literally within the walls of a tribunal. But I go far enough to prosecute and analyze here because these are idiots. These are idiots. The government is accustomed to getting away with corruption because the government is who it is, and nobody questions that, and those days are over. The government is shown to be a vagina-monitoring psychopathic stalker, a violent sex offender, who will say and do anything through anyone. So the government is not a trusted entity. This is P.O.C. It is 6:57 a.m. All right, taking off from right here. Based on my stopping to dispose of trash, immediately a plane, like it's taking off right here where I'm located. This is, first of all, Amazon, and the entity's engaging in, sorry, let me back up. That's Amazon Prime Air, and the entity is literally engaging in stalking with an apartment complex while you see that. This is 306 to 312 North San Antonio Avenue, 9 Nancy Mary Robert 508, stalking on the roads and the highways, while the fake sun moves in the direction that I'm traveling, as well as the people. Remember, these sex offenders that engage in what is molestation,
stalk with impossible lie. They are indeed stalkers and they're demons. Equally psychotic. While you are at the same time that I stop, that is engaged in a change in activity, that's pursuant to what is exceeding stalking. Not only are you stalking in not only is Amazon Prime Air stalking me, but the demons of the military who are psychotic are hovering as I am being stalked on the roads and the highways by the people. They are crouching in the sky space and planes, ready to engage in that knee-jerk conduct of rising over an apartment complex like the airport is anywhere over here, and you're conducting takeoff. Pursuant to what is the terminals where Amazon Prime planes are positioned at the airport off of Airport Drive. This is the entity that is stalking. This is occurring under the fake sun at 8:51 a.m. This is the Stater Brothers, Ontario Village Shopping Center. This is San Antonio and Holt Boulevard, where I am coming from the laundromat typically on Wednesday afternoon, and I'm on this same street at the 706 West Holt Starbucks, and that's the Ontario Village Shop on the opposite side of this same street where I just came from. Okay, that's a shopping center. Fake sun is over me on this same street while I'm at this intersection that I'm looking at where the lights are, and the fake sun is over me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the P.O.C. Amazon Prime is, again, showing how it is a threat to American citizens. And the products, even the products that they sell you, are keeping you under surveillance. They're communication devices which are used by the government. Amazon Prime is the government operating under the identification of a corporate entity, and I'm going to drain that corporate entity and prosecute it as the terrorist that it is. They are mentally ill, and they are engaged in what is terrorism while they're doing so with the terrorists who are the people of the state. And Amazon Prime are the people of the state. This is P.O.C. That's psychotic. And I'm going to prosecute Amazon Prime for psychological torture. This is P.O.C. while I'm located at 319 North San Antonio Avenue at 306 to 312 North San Antonio Avenue under the fake sun, and I will connect the evidence of what is the fake sun that is over me at this same street. At the end of this street is 706 West Holt, where I am under this same fake sun after 5 p.m. 1 o'clock, 4 and 5 o'clock in the evening. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. The entity is engaging in what is stalking under the fake sun. You've seen California Highway Patrol doing the same thing. This is a street sweeper that is sitting in front of a private residence while the people of the state are pacing. 7Z2X220, I believe. I can't really see that one though. 13646 Paul 3. And Impossible Lights moving across this brick wall. They're targeting. They're targeting two homeless people that are stalking on the side. The purpose is present, okay? The entity is calls itself disguising the fact that they're stalking because they're homeless. This is the entity that's engaged in psychopathic behavior, the light activity across the brick wall while they're in the street, and then you have a street sweeper that's sitting in front of somebody else's home. It's the peculiarized light as the purpose, but you're also looking at what is clearly abnormal while they're sitting in front of somebody else's private residence. It's not a private residence. It's a facilitated venue. They're monitoring. This neighborhood is monitoring. And this is the same pattern of conduct over the open space. California Highway Patrol, you had what is the UPLAND. You have what is Diversified Landscape Company engaging the entity stalking by helicopter. Doing so, the fake sun. This is 9:38 a.m., 9:35 a.m. I am in Fontana, California. I'm at Ontario Village Shopping Center where the entity is stalking me by helicopter. I'm in Pomona, California, where the entity is maintaining this light activity while demons. That's going to be subject to martial law. 7VHS 673. They're engaged in psychological torture as an entity. And an entity committed kidnapping on yesterday in 2022 while they were gang stalking, exhibiting this mental illness, engaging in criminal defamation as an entity, engaging in kidnapping as an entity, and doing so pursuant to what is the pattern of conduct in furtherance of murder. While they are psychotic, stalking all of them in vehicles one after another, the same pattern of conduct, 8MHS318, impossible light activity coexisting with your presence in the past. That's the entity that is targeting, and this is an entity of demons. These demons are being represented in a courtroom in my absence while I remain subject to their stalking me, their psychological torture program, and you have what is indefensible in court, and this is the basis to prosecute, including those that are in any courtroom, regarding what is indefensible against an American citizen, and you will be prosecuted for engaging in what is the pattern of conduct which is underway in the courts in this country. They're gang stalking me while they are permitted to do so under the guise of maintaining court hearings pursuant to what you already stole, pursuant to criminal acts that are under all circumstances improper, and also it is superseded by the fact that I'm being gang stalked in real time. The entity is permitting it while you're calling yourself conducting court hearings as to whether or not you're going to, interfere with your own criminal activity and give me my money that you already stole? This is the pattern of conduct underway in the court system. This is directly tethered to those that are referring to my social media and addressing it outside of my absence, right, outside of my presence, which is also a violation of my due process right because of criminal activity that is always connected to what you would claim you are addressing in a court hearing outside of the constitutional requirements that have not been met. I don't have my money and assets. It's tied up in court hearings pursuant to this entity that is gang stalking now. This is the entity that's engaged in what is court hearings outside of my absence while I'm still sleeping outside and being dispossessed of my property. There is no interest that is being served on my behalf while I'm also being gang stalked. And you are gang stalking via the sophisticated means in the courtroom while you are engaging in the P.O.C. You know how you are? Because they're still gang stalking? While you're claiming that you have any interest to defend the entity, to defend the military, to defend the so-called medical professionals and what they've stated about my character, while 7TGD620 is the psychopath, is the one that is mentally ill, that's the entity that is gang stalking me. You're being federally prosecuted. I want you to understand that. You are not conducting any legitimate court hearing about my property. And this is domestic terrorism. I want to be clear. This is the prosecution of that system. And this is how you engage in what is murdering through the ongoing prolonging and delayed correction of what is improper in the first place by the federal government by merely delaying what you are required to do under the law, which is not permit the entity to continuously stalk me by helicopter for another day, stalk me as a population for another day, utilize the malicious means of monitoring me for another day, while you claim that you need another continuance so that you can come back and produce some defamatory, libelous conduct that is irrelevant regarding criminal activity that this entity has engaged in, or whatever it is that you are asserting, because the details are actually irrelevant. This is the P.O.C., and the P.O.C. is underway in the courts. I've already shown that. I've already surrounded this entity with regard to the pattern of conduct underway in the courts. That's a gang stalker that's representing the entity under any circumstances, any and all circumstances. Anybody representing Tracy Banks, anybody speaking to the entity that has defamed my character, anybody speaking to the hospitals and the police departments that have manufactured a case against me. You are representing the entity while you are conducting those hearings in my absence while I am outside being gang stalked. This is the P.O.C. You are engaging in criminal activity. You are engaging in that which I have already proven that the totality of this system is designed to act in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder. That is, I'm still being gang stalked while you call yourself conducting court hearings, which is not serving my interests, which are entirely unconstitutional, while they are permitted to still engage in the pattern of conduct. And that's why you have the military stalking me in planes and helicopters every day. And you know why they do so with impunity? Because you are, in fact, gang stalking. This is why they have no regard for their knowledge that there are court hearings, that they are convinced that are going to enable them to get away with what they're still doing. And you are that corrupt to believe that nobody's going to make a connection regarding what you're doing concerning that targeted individual who remains subject to that ongoing harm, threat to their life, while you are denying them their access to money and property that is entitled to them, that would immediately remedy what is a threat to the life that are the demons who are stalking them with light. That's psychological torture before murder is committed by an entity that you are not defending. There is no defense of terrorism. Terrorism is being prosecuted. And those that are in courtrooms seeking to delay, that is, engaging in and facilitating this pattern of conduct, it's facilitation. Pay attention. It's facilitation. You're being prosecuted for it. That's criminal activity, not the legitimate practice of law. And I mean everybody in the courtroom. Everyone in that courtroom. You are not impervious because you sit on the bench and you call yourself holding a court hearing. I will prosecute you based on my constitutional and human rights. The government that is stalking me and threatening my life is speaking to your criminal facilitation of that ongoing course of conduct. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:43 a.m. and the fake sun is remaining over me. Remember, I'm on what is Euclid Avenue at 7th Street at around this time, and the Upland Police Department are doing the exact same thing that CMAC is called light activity while stalking with impossible light. They're doing so while they are targeting together, and the Upland Police Department are demons as well, engaging in this pattern of conduct. No police department is defensible in any court hearing. You are engaging in the pattern of conduct while they are proven to be gang stalking, and you call yourself representing them in court while an American citizen is at the same time remaining subject to the P.O.C. That's the pattern of conduct. That's literally textbook P.O.C. It is domestic terrorism as it is underway in the United States, and I'm prosecuting you now. I'm prosecuting you now. I hope that you understand that. You are doing exactly what you are supposed to do so that I can expose the totality of this corrupt system and what will be a matter of what are criminal charges and damages that I continuously suffer because of you, in concert with the people of the state. You're gang stalking me right along with them. 6ZXP000 or 6PXPD00, P.O.C. There is no connection between light that is moving across the wall while they are driving by, underneath what is also not the sun. The fake sun is remaining over me yesterday in 2022, where this entity that is not defensible in any court hearing, the gang stalker does not have a defense in court defended by you. That is not what this is. It's the pattern of conduct. And that's what you've been doing, holding up my money and property, that which I have already proven is a matter of what is justice and should have been provided years ago. You are going to be federally prosecuted. You are putting your California bar license on the line, and that's exactly what I'm going to take when I enforce justice against you. And this is a policy, so I don't need to know your name. This is a policy regarding terrorism in the U.S. This is P.O.C. You will not gang stalk. I just want you to see C-Max is now moving from sitting in front of someone's house. I guess the street sweepers just take their brick wherever they want, sitting in front of the private properties of the people of the state while they're stalking with light. C-Max is a commercial actor. I'm going to prosecute them. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct with the city of Ontario as well. They're under the fake sun, and they are sitting up watching me document them as my phone just stopped right now, and that's because that is a sufficient legal argument. You're listening to me prosecute you via my social media. It's perfectly fine. You listen to the ways in which you're being prosecuted while I am outside exposing the totality of the system, which includes you, who are gang stalking by maintaining court hearings about that which is a matter of justice on its face. The government will not be engaging in what is delaying or obstructing justice. This is POC. See you flying right over the top of my head. This is the same entity that's in court hearings pertaining to the American citizen that's being gang stalked. The entity is being gang stalked by the government that is not going to then be in any courtroom delaying what is justice against itself. That's what the entity is currently doing right now, and you will be federally prosecuted. That is the pattern of conduct underway in the corrupt courts. And I've already shown that through the civil court system, BUI 285 Apple. Gang stalking with a minor, AWEM 975. 18718 Apple 1. 5XYP040. This is surveillance on the roads and the high. This is the basis for not only martial law, but the loss of the driving privileges by the state of California. That's engaging in terrorism on the roads and the highways, which is a threat to American citizens, and they're engaging in that in the airspace, flying, targeting. The fake sun is the proof of targeting, and the entity flying over my head, while a bunch of psychopaths who are gang stalking. You know why they're doing it? Because the government is in court delaying what is justice that's entitled to me, and that's because those that are in that are sharing in the same exact pattern of conduct. It's not going to be based on your acknowledging it. What it's going to be proven by and how you're being prosecuted is me showing how I'm subject to that pattern of conduct, and how you holding any sort of court hearing, which is another day of me being gang stalked, another day of my life remaining under threat, another day of me remaining being dispossessed of property that was stolen from me by this same gang stalker, and you engaging in the maintenance of some farcical court hearings that are the means of targeting me and keeping me dispossessed in this position in furtherance of the same murder, the same criminal objective, while this same government, you are the same entity, and I will prosecute you based on this very criminal conduct that you share in. It's called criminal facilitation, enabling it to continue. The government that's engaging in domestic terrorism does so by engaging in exactly what you are doing in the gang stalking courts throughout the state and federal. That's exactly what they're doing, and this is indefensible. The government that's engaging in terrorism will not then hold court hearings in order to protect itself from prosecution. P.O.C. License 9WZV399. I'm at the same intersection in the middle of the afternoon. O Park, that's a gang stalker, is gang stalking me while I'm also juxtaposing now with the fake sun being over my head just like this in the middle of the afternoon. I'm at 7th Street in Euclid. I'm capturing this in images. You will see O Park stalking right here at the stop sign, and I'm capturing the fake sun just like it is right now at 9:52 in the morning, and in the middle of the afternoon, O Park is stalking on the roads and the highways just like every other corporate actor, every other third party, the people of the state, and the entities engaging in what is stalking in this same manner, because that's where the surveillance is underway. In the supernatural environment, this is 9:52 a.m., and the entities engaging in this POC, this is speaking to the pattern of conduct that's underway by the courts. And this is what it is enabling. This is literally the courts that are gang stalking. All right, this is the entity that has that audacity, that impunity. It's because the court is gang stalking. The court is the entity. 64627 Frank 4, gang stalking under a fake sun. The fake sun that are over the courts, by the way. They are over the same courthouses. targeting. You're not holding any court hearings. You are not engaging in what is targeting someone and then exercising authority to protect yourself from prosecution, to insulate yourself while you are bat-poo crazy stalking me with impossible light on the roads and the highways outside. That's not what's going to happen. I will prosecute you and you will be losing your bar license. This is the entity that's doing so, and you are not the government and you are not in an actual position of authority. You're being dispossessed of that while you are proven to have abused it. It does not matter what federal prosecutor you think you are. It does not matter what defense attorney you think that you are. You are not, in substance, by virtue of the P.O.C., proving the exact opposite. The pattern of conduct that I remain subject to, which is contending with, simultaneously coexisting with that which you would like to claim are legitimate court hearings. And it is nothing other than the ongoing pattern of conduct, the P.O.C., where the military, the law enforcement agencies, the government itself, the people of the state are stalking on your behalf in concert with you, and you are facilitating that. By virtue of the harms that I'm still suffering, the theft that still exists by them who are the ones who are benefiting from it, doing so in furtherance of some murder objective, and they're doing so with regard to the corruption of the courts. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that. And for further context, refer to the kidnappings committed by the same entity. You are not going to then engage in what is any defense. This is the entity that's engaged in that. By virtue of the actor here, the criminal, which is the federal government, you are not in any position to engage in what is insulating yourself from a prosecution, which is all that you're doing. You will not prolong and delay. You are going to immediately cease to engage in this, and you are going to rectify that. This is something that is not even requiring any sort of federal prosecutor. I have spoken to an advocate for federal policy where American citizens can initiate that own federal investigation. Upon showing the P.O.C., this is an emergency. This is not something that you're sitting up and just waiting and delaying like you have done to me. But this is prosecuting that system. And you will be subject to the same criminal case. I want to be clear. You dressing up and going to court and repeatedly requesting continuances and talking about that which is already exposed as criminal and improper, and that which is a violation of the court rules in the first place, that which you cannot make sense of, and you're waiting for the target individual to drop, so that way you can, without any contest, retroactively make legitimate that which is entirely unlawful in the first place, which is underway in the courts. That's not going to happen. I'm going to prosecute you. And this criminal pattern of conduct is a means whereby I'm prosecuting you. Those who call themselves holding court hearings in my absence and referring to my social media. This social media is designed to prosecute you in case you did not understand that. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:56 a.m. at 7th Street and Euclid Avenue, where I am here in the middle of the afternoon, and as I've documented, walking down this same street in San Antonio into Ontario, and the entity is stalking me by helicopter. The entity that you are not defending. This is indefensible. These terrorists are going down for treason, and they're going down for federal RICO, and they're going to prison, and they're going to mental institutions, and you cannot stop that. You will not stop that. And as you interfere, which is what any court hearing that's delaying justice for 1 hour, you will be federally prosecuted as a gang stalker. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:56 a.m. License plate 8 Bob Henry Larry 599. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 7:04 p.m. and what you will see are images of the city of Upland engaging in surveillance, and specifically they're engaging in even vagina monitoring, surveillance in the bathroom, because everything that I am doing, everywhere that I'm going, and everyone around me are engaging in surveillance. The city of Upland is doing so. There is a male with a sky blue shirt on, black backpack. He's gang stalking with the city of Upland. The fat, chunky male with the gray shorts on and the cargo shorts and the hat on, he's gang stalking. He walks by me with his phone out, doesn't have a problem gang stalking me, but as soon as I pull my phone out, then he puts his hands in his pockets. That's what you'll observe. These are the gang stalkers that know that they're being documented. They're guilty by virtue of presence. They think that they appear otherwise when they look the other way or put their phone away. This is the entity that's being prosecuted. And the evidence is the fake sun. The fake sun is here at 7:04 p.m. The fake sun is here when I'm walking up this morning during the 10 a.m. hour. And the city of Upland is engaging in surveillance, maintaining a van, maintaining audible activity that you can hear in the background. This is stalking in the path. This is just like having the sex offenders that are crossing paths as I walk out of the door. This is the entity maintaining presence right in front of me. This is the entity maintaining light activity at the Carnegie Library in the parking of the light activity. This is what the entity is doing while I'm documenting the pattern of conduct, and the entity is stalking using their vehicles, their hazard lights, for example, using the construction vehicles at the Stater Brothers this morning around the Stater Brothers parking lot, around the Ontario Village Shopping Plaza, where the entity is maintaining psychopathic pacing in the sky space, on the roads and the highways, in the shopping plaza. This is the P.O.C. under the fake sun. That is 10 o'clock in the morning is when I'm here, but I've been here before 10. That's how I got the gang stalker who's going to prison, Officer Lavallar, who's going to prison during the 8 a.m. hour where the fake sun is here, and it is 7. So that is 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just so that we are aware how supernatural that is and how exclusive that is. And then you have the evidence, for example, where you see the pattern of conduct. Open Family Community Library has the fake sun rising during the 6 a.m. hour until the 6 p.m. hour, and I am after 6 p.m. It's 7:06 p.m. So how is the sun over me? Like I documented at 6:45 p.m. where the entity is gang stalking. And that's how you understand the significance and the knowledge that all the psychopaths who are gang stalking as a citywide effort, including my vagina, where City of Upland employees are engaging in what are policing around the bathroom door, the women's restroom, while the demons are pacing in and out, including with their little kids. And they want you to see that their children are sex offenders, and the federal government that's going to be enforcing martial law is paying very close attention to that. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 7:06 p.m. at Upland Public Library, P.O.C. American Medical Response, gang stalking under the fake sun that's in alignment to me. You'll recognize that pattern. This is my shadow that's over here projected across the field. Attention to the people of the state that are pacing. Her shadow's appearing upon the porch over here. This is 1444 North Euclid Avenue, where Southwest Airlines is flying over the top of my head, and American Medical Response is also targeting. This is the City of Ontario that's doing so, and they're doing so with the people of the state. You look at that light activity moving across the house. That's impossible light activity. It's also impossible because the fake sun rises over me in Ontario. I'm on Euclid Avenue going back toward that same location, and these are demons that are engaged in psychopathic pacing. They're monitoring together with the City of Ontario. 9DZA 613. This is POC. 9CTN 813, POC. 9NPD 981, POC. 8FSC 498, POC. They're losing their driving privileges in California. 5KLL 692, and that old white biddy is holding her phone in her hand monitoring me. 9JFS 810, POC. 8NLM, I can't see the rest of that one. This is the POC. This is True Jesus Church. This is 6th Street. The fake sun is over me in the morning at this very intersection. I documented the sunrise at this intersection. This is 6th Street and Euclid. And this is I want to be clear, the hostility is the entity, the demon-possessed, the mentally ill that are blinded with fury, but they're convicted, okay? And this is why they're going to be subject to martial law, including the mentally ill that are currently operating ambulances that are incompetent, and they're engaged in also what is criminal activity that is corrupt. And it's a threat to the American public. They don't have emergency services. They're engaged in surveillance using the emergency vehicles in concert with the people who engage in monitoring while those ambulances and fire trucks and police vehicles are under the fake sun engaging in what is pacing just right along with them. It's called light activity. This is the POC. There's some that are far from any airport are engaging in the POC in concert with the American Medical Response, and these are the people of the state. This is the entity that's subject to the pattern of conduct, that's engaging in the pattern of conduct and is subject to martial law. And it's also notable that this is an entity that is not engaging in any sort of lawful defense in a courtroom concerning what is actually no matter that you will ever use to delay justice. While this entity is engaged in a conspiracy to murder in real time, those that are calling themselves holding any court hearings, which is delaying justice, stopping an entity from conspiring murder against an American citizen, shall be subject to that federal prosecution as well, equally engaged in the criminal conspiracy to murder. While the federal stalking and monitoring, as I've already shown and documented, is underway through what is the pattern of conduct underway in the courts, okay? The same exact specific environment, and the entity in gang stalking is a term of art, and it is a means of facilitation. And this entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct through the courts, and that's why the entity is still targeting. And they're going to be federally prosecuted. The entity that's doing so is being prosecuted right along with these demons who I document through the city, by company name, by license plate, etc. This is the POC. It is currently, while I'm at Ledini, and in between 6th Street, my evidence shows the fake sun rising at this location. And that's where American Medical Response is going to be removed from operating ambulances and engaging in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murdering me, as opposed to legitimate operation of what is contracted with Ontario that's engaged in surveillance. That's the whole purpose for the contract with the City of Ontario, to engage in gang stalking. All right, it is currently 7:33 p.m., okay? This is POC. All the people of the state are engaging in criminal surveillance while the entity uses something like sirens and lights. through the city. All right? The entity is engaged in this also while they're watching the evidence published against them to prosecute them, and this is speaking to the threat that the entity that they pose to the American public, to national security. And this is all informing what shall be martial law. Them, their children, their ability to be on the roads and the highways, no driving, no flight, no airport. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and that's exactly what justice requires based on what they have revealed to you while I've already convicted them. The terrorists are teaching you about them and the threat that they pose to you. And the federal government's going to respond. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:34 p.m. All right, Pizza Hut, along with the entirety of the shopping plaza in relevant position, engaged in sexual assault and battery as an entity. This is the sex offense committed by a corporate entity, and they are sharing in that sex offense with the gang stalking customers. This is the federal RICO case where the corporate entities engaged in sexual violence, psychological torture, criminal stalking, but as an entity. So this is domestic terrorism that Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue is engaging in. While they're making money off of it. And the demons are pacing in and out of 7-Eleven while molesting me with light, doing so while they are picking up their pizzas, making their purchase. Literally, the business is included in their psychopathic behavior, and stalking with light while they're monitoring me on my device. License plate, sex offender, stalking on the roads and the highways. This is looks like a white male, license plate. 8 Zebra Henry David 477, sexual assault and battery. This is the entity. A female, very psychotic. She has like 5 kids, and she used her kids to pace in front of me outside of the Pizza Hut. This is a Pizza Hut that's already heavily documented. Her license plate is, I already took a picture, but I want to document her. This is the entity that's going to lose custody of children, be deported if they're not natural-born citizens. 9 Robert Larry 831. Engaged in the pattern of conduct, sexual assault and battery. This is psychopath engaging in surveillance in his vehicle, running into Pizza Hut when he's scared he's going to be documented. When I get the license plate, running back to his vehicle in order to molest with light to make sure that I'm touched with light as I walk back to my property. 8 Kelly Mary David 782. Engaging what is making a purchase at Pizza Hut in order to engage in the criminal pattern of conduct, because the people of the state, the government is engaged in a federal RICO case. They are maintaining surveillance everywhere, at all places and at all times, and they are relying upon making purchases as gang stalking customers, which are shared with the corporations themselves. That has the fake moon over this Pizza Hut. I don't mean 7-Eleven, I mean Pizza Hut. 7-Eleven is in relevant position. 7-Eleven is a part of the entity. 7-Eleven is gang stalking, but I am referring specifically right now to Pizza Hut. Okay, so 7-Eleven is being analyzed at the same time while I'm at one venue and in relevant position. The entity is acting, okay, and that's why I'm subject to the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. It is currently where the entity has a crescent moon above the Pizza Hut, where the people of the state are engaging in that P.O.C. and furtherance of murder. These companies are being prosecuted. This is a corporate entity that's being prosecuted for engaging in the conspiracy to murder. And they're doing so while they are engaging in a federal RICO. No small thing what Pizza Hut is engaging in, and gang stalking is what they will learn is that it's not worth it, and I'm going to prosecute them for it. License 5 Sam Jerry Edward 180. This is P.O.C. The entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing. Everybody at Euclid Avenue and G Street, they're pacing all around. This is psychotic behavior that a population of demons share in. And the U.S. military is occupying the sky space, while the people of the state are mentally ill, and they engage in their mentally ill pattern of conduct in concert with them who are mentally ill, stalking me in the planes and the helicopters, okay? That's the P.O.C. It is currently 8:29 p.m. This is all evidence, I want to be clear, regarding the absence of any legitimate court hearings, while the entity that is claiming to be doing so is gang stalking me as I'm documenting. I'm prosecuting you who are sitting in court delaying justice, hoping that I die, while I'm subject to your criminal pattern of conduct. You are gang stalking. Domestic terrorism is underway in the courts, and this is exactly how the government seeks to conceal itself, obstruct justice, and keep itself from being exposed and prosecuted. And you're being federally prosecuted for that. Understand that. There is no legitimate act of the government that is gang stalking. And this is the entity that is hard-pressed to understand that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:30 p.m. Alrighty, this is the entity that is indeed stalking me on behalf of the military. What they're doing, this is a U-turn in the sky space. Laughing because this entity is going to be locked out with martial law. They're psychotic. They're very mentally ill. 8YZS624 is stalking at a stoplight. This is severely mentally ill. It's malicious conduct, and this is a psychopath that's stalking somebody. They don't even know me, but they know who I am, and that's proven through the entity that's maintaining the pattern of stalking in planes and helicopters, where there is no takeoff over here. And Southwest Airlines was way up on Euclid Avenue stalking, where AMR was engaging in what is criminal summoning, which is gang stalking as well. This is the P.O.C. There's the fake moon. That's how you know that that's a psychopath that's stalking. This is the fake moon that's moving, no longer over this Pizza Hut. You see this? They are going to be subject to martial. The psychotic circus-like environment is a direct indicator regarding severe mental instability. And they're moreover triggered while they are targeted, while they target someone else. And you know who they're targeting with? The mentally ill that are stalking in expensive vehicles such as a fire truck, which are going to be permanently parked, where gang stalkers will no longer be on the roads and the highways like Michael Gerken of the They're engaged in criminal summoning. That's federal prison. 8YVS624. That's P.O.C. It's light activity, relevant positioning. And doing so with impossible light activity way back there in that building, it's not reflecting off of the fire. They're mentally ill. Michael Gerken is mentally ill, okay? The demons of American Medical Response are mentally ill. This is the fake moon over me. There's no emergency under the fake moon and under the fake sun. This is all stalking at a gas station, stalking at a red light, stalking, driving down the street. They're focused on what's behind them. This is the entity that's mentally ill. This is P.O.C. stalking at gas stalls. This is very unfortunate. This is the entity that needs martial law, though. It's more like the American people need California to be under martial law. Okay? They're actually focused on stalking with light. License 9ZGA10. They're engaged in criminal summoning. License ER51 Edward 35, engaged in criminal summoning. They're engaged in stalking with the entity that's engaged in psychopathic pacing over Lemon Avenue. This is all psychopathic behavior. They're going in circles over, around, and around, and around. They're obsessing over me. That's what this is. All right? And that's what the entity is doing in the skyspace. This is the military that is not being defended in any court hearing. This is the entity that's gang stalking in the court. And I'm going to prosecute the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct while they're still actively trying to kill me, including those that are calling themselves holding court hearings. That's the ongoing conspiracy to commit murder while they're engaged in that. And that is understanding the totality regarding domestic terrorism in the U.S. It's P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and the U.S. military is going to be committed, and they're also going to be prosecuted for treason. All right, that's P.O.C. It is currently where you just witnessed stalking by the entity doing a U-turn in a plane, then flying west. No planes are taking off from the airport over here, judicially noticed fact. The entity is stalking in a specific environment. The entity is engaging in this as a population who are engaging in surveillance together, and this is the unhinged, mentally ill entity that shall be subject to martial law. All right? They commit murders on the highways while they're engaging in gang stalking, which is all that California is engaging in criminal surveillance. They will not be exercising any privileges to drive. All right? The ARCO employee is gang stalking just like Chevron. License plate, serial stalker, license 8, Edward, Indiana Paul, 592. She's already subject to prison. She's engaged in gang stalking me with the Ontario Police Department, flying in circles over me by helicopter, and she's just gang stalking with them. She's going to prison. This is P.O.C. They're stalking. This is a federal legal case against ARCO under the fake sun during the day and under the fake moon at night. All right? This is P.O.C. hurrying up to accelerate, to engage in what is monitoring. Okay, you see that device he's got in his hand? Speeding up to get next to me. These are mentally ill psychopaths, all right? They are engaging in what is a very heavily documented, a very well thoroughly documented. They're losing their mind, and I'm documenting it while they're stalking me. SY487, handicap, okay? He's handicapped for more than one reason. This is P.O.C. All right, that's the entity that is stalking. Alrighty, that's the U.S. military that's engaging in what is leading in terrorism by a mentally ill population, and the U.S. military are mentally ill as well. They're psychotic. There's demon possession. These are the effects of demon possession. P.O.C. It's 11:04. The entity is just flying in circles over me at the Yoga Family Community Library for the past 6 minutes and is just really desperate for me to care. And is continuously doing so and would rather me capture video of it so that then the homosexual will fly off. I'm going to just go ahead and capture this because the entity that's calling itself holding court hearings and has been doing so, I'm going to federally prosecute you on criminal charges. There is no defending this, and there is no upholding or even addressing defamation that these same stalkers are the ones that are engaging in it. I'm prosecuting you. And that was, I want to be clear, that was helicopter activity at the Ovid Family Community Library. It's 11:05 p.m. And pursuant to surveillance, that is, the stalker is aware that they're being recorded. That's why the helicopter activity isn't continuing like it has for the past 6 minutes. That's the psychopath. That's the actually mentally ill one. And defaming any American citizen that's being stalked by the government is the entity that is going to be federally prosecuted, where you seek to obstruct justice by holding some pointless court hearing when you are supposed to be conducting raids and stopping that terrorism immediately. They are stalking me because you are gang stalking me. I'm going to prosecute you. You hear how quiet it got? That's evidence of stalking. It's 11:06 p.m. Now, this is what would be the case on a permanent basis were you not engaged in obstruction of justice. And because I have remained for a prolonged period subject to ongoing stalking and furtherance of murder, and this is the evidence of psychological torture, you are engaged in that unabated program of psychological torture. You are not engaging in any legitimate court hearings while an American citizen is being gang stalked. That gang stalking is underway while that same government is permitted to do so, is doing so through the maintenance of ongoing irrelevant and farcical criminal court hearings while that targeted individual is outside being targeted or is kidnapped inside of some facility where you would assert that you're holding court hearings about it. That is the criminal pattern of conduct. I'm prosecuting you. P.O.C. It is currently 11:07 p.m. and I want to be clear, it is psychopathic. What the entity is doing, calling itself holding court hearings, is the same malicious, deranged, and delusional course of conduct while you are facilitating psychotic means of stalking by the military who are engaging in terrorism, stalking and following and hunting down an American citizen in helicopter like you just heard. I want to be clear, you suffer from the same mental illness disorder. It is a pattern of conduct that you are sharing in, and it is not cloaked. It is not disguised. It's not mysterious. It is criminal, and I'm prosecuting you for it. The fact that I'm being stalked at 11:04 p.m., I'm prosecuting you for it. P.O.C. It is currently 11:08 p.m.